Love song for Melanie Rae. The breaking away of childhood left you intact. In a moment, you stood there as if completed by a single miracle, all at once. Rainer Maria Rilke. Melanie was broken. You loved your cousin before you were born, each in your mother's womb, wordless and perfect. You leapt in joy, pushed hard with feet and fists whenever the sisters laughed together. Laughter was in the first sound, a fluttery, tender trill, bird song under water. You lived inside the sound and knew love as pure vibration. Then you were 5, and he was 5, and love was a winter night, smell of pine, crackling fire. Love, a dark room with cold windows, you and Melanie Rae rubbing feet fast on carpet to make sparks jump between your fingers. Melanie sparked the white cat, the crib where Iris slept, his own ears, the television's long antennae. He was dangerous, your cousin. 8 years old and flinging himself from roof to snowbank, 10, and making you climb the high cedar fence to swim naked at Merle Everly's pool. He was never sorry for anything. When Aunt Christine smacked his butt, he turned the other cheek and said, "Hit me harder." Some days he refused all words and spoke in the voice of the cat, the loon, the river. He carved signs on himself or threw stones at your window. He stood mute in the freezing rain. He was the rain, waiting for you to run into the woods and find him. You turned 11, wild with love, both falling in love with Dory Esteban together. Dark-eyed Dory gave you each a curl of her black hair tied with green ribbon, and later, swaying in her treehouse, she showed you the violet scars high on her hip bones. Leaves whispered, and you wanted to speak now in their language. Dory said, "That's where the doctor took marrow from me and gave it to Elia, my brother." But little Elia Esteban died anyway, and now Dory was going to die too, because she didn't save him. You imagined that dark place inside her bones, hollow needle long enough to probe, sharp lance twisting to the center. You saw Dory's deep gold core pulled into a syringe and pumped into her brother. Light spilled through the slats of the tree house, and you wanted to touch Dory where the light touched and be that silent. Then she did die, just as she'd promised, the next year, a car accident with her mother. Alida Esteban said Dory kept her eyes open for the longest minute, and she could feel her there, everywhere, as if Dory were the air, Dory the light fractured through the windshield. Alida took a hard breath, and Dory closed her eyes and became very small, the air inside her mother, and Alida said, "I wasn't afraid of anything, and I didn't hurt, I just felt Dory there in me, very peaceful." Later, Alida Esteban hurt all the time. She couldn't walk more than half a block without weeping, feet crushed from slamming brakes that didn't stop them. How many bones can you break in one foot, one face, one body? She looked inside herself and saw all her bones crumbling. It hurt to breathe into the space where 5 fractured ribs mended. Even after the bruises disappeared and the cuts on her face and hands healed, forever after she could never take a full breath, never bear to fill her lungs and feel them huge inside her, never, though Dr. Savoy looked so pleased, so immaculately satisfied, showing her and her husband Mario the x-ray, saying, "Your ribs are perfect," proud as if he alone had worked this miracle, slipped his bright white hands inside to hold her bones while she lay dreaming. Mario squeezed her hand, and his touch hurt her fingers, her whole arm, her face, her pelvis. It hurt to go home with him, husband, stranger, to be inside the tiny house where she was the mother of no children. It hurt to be in the yard, to sit in the cradle of the swing, though she was small enough now, then it's her own daughter. It hurt to hear dogs barking. God had done this to her because of the child lost, the one wished away long ago, the secret never spoken. Lolita Riero, 14 years old, watching the dark clots of herself swirl down the toilet, down and gone, back to God, the dirt, the crows, the river. If not for cramps so fierce they crippled her, if not for the fact that she fell when she tried to stand and struck her head on the toilet, if not for Doña Chavez finding her there locked in the stall half an hour later, if not for stained underpants twisted around her knees and strays in the schoolyard howling, if not for those 2 hungry, sore-skinned dogs following her home that day, sniffing, she might have said it was a dream, a lie, impossible, just dark clots and bright blood, not a child flushed and now down the river floating. You wanted to tell Alida Esteban about the day you and Melanie touched Dory's scar, and she told you she was going to die, and she wasn't afraid, as if it were a thing of the past and not a thing to fear in the future. Dory said, "Sometimes I see myself walking toward myself, and I just feel very beautiful." You wanted to knock on the Esteban's door, but you were afraid of the skinny woman inside, how old she looked, how shriveled. Afraid of the red curtain always drawn closed across the front window. Afraid of the chicken in the yard, bigger than the 3 little dogs yapping. Afraid of the black rooster and the white goat with no ears and the sheep on a long chain and the man, this father of no children, who drove away in his rusty blue truck every morning, but who might return on foot in silence and open the door and find you there and kill you. The thrush in the woods behind Alita's house held one shimmering note so bright and clear you thought the bird would shatter, and then it did shatter, into a heart-sparking ripple of song that split down your bones and burst from your body. Melanie Rae McKenna turned 15 9 days before you did, and so you were only 14 the day you saw your cousin broken. He rode his bike too fast, whipped down the ravine at night, jolted through the gully howling. Tulani wanted to die, he said, a joke between you. He whooped and barked, motherless boy, wild dog on wheels. Nobody waited at home to smack him. Aunt Christine was 3 times gone, and now gone for good, married to a prison guard in Deer Lodge, a man she met the year your Uncle Roy was an inmate. The day it happened was just a day like any other, a hot day in August, and for once Tulani was riding very slowly, eyes closed, no hands, his latest trick, a test of nerves and balance. And he must have heard the car, but it was too late to swerve, too late for Ross Frail to tap the brakes, and the old man rolling out of his driveway clipped Tulani's rear tire, and the bike skidded into the street, and the boy you loved flew, and you saw him, but you were not afraid, because you'd seen him fly from tree and swing and rooftop. You'd seen him rise up from grass, snow, water. You'd gazed down from the roof to see him lying on his back in the snow, moving arms and legs, making himself into an angel. You teetered at the edge, and he tempted you without words, only with laughter. He made you leap, he made you follow, and you were both alive that day, so why should this day be any different? He flew 20 feet, and now lay very still, limbs splayed, but so peaceful, and you walked toward the place where he lay as if you were walking toward yourself, your body and his body, very beautiful. Light falling through leaves moved as the leaves moved, and you were the light between leaves tenderly touching him. Then the old man touched you, muttering, and his car roared, stopped still but still running, and the light through leaves broke, and you saw yourself and the trembling man and Tulani in fragments, and you were afraid, fractured by light, cold where the man's cold hand touched you. He thought his heart would burst from his body, that his red heart would fall into your hands, and you wouldn't know what to do or how to slip it back inside, and he'd die right there, his chest an open mouth, his dark heart throbbing in your hands, and you kneeling with the weight of it. It was true what you saw. Ross Frail did die 4 months later. Ross Frail fell down the basement stairs and lay in the dark and cool concrete 3 days before his brother found him. But Tulani didn't die. Tulani woke the day you turned as old as he was. He spoke his first words to you. "Touch my legs," he said. "Can you feel them?" Now when you go to the skate park together, Tulani curls his limp legs under him to ride his board down the gentlest slope while his little sister Iris smokes cigarettes or pops wheelies in his wheelchair. Wild dog Melanie Rae McKenna waits at the bottom for you to come and push him up the other side so he can roll down again and rock there in the middle. Clouds pass, but you are not afraid of the light or lack of it. You love the light as it gathers and breaks you over and over.